Okay, so we've seen the Bitcoin ETF, we've seen the Ethereum ETF now, and speculation is now starting to build as to which project will be next in terms of getting that SEC approval for an exchange-traded fund. Some people are saying it's going to be Sol, others XRP, BNB, maybe Chainlink. We're actually going to break this video down in a bit of a different way. We're looking at pro-ETF arguments, and we're also looking at the arguments against SEC approval for new ETFs. And of course, I want to hear your feedback. I want to know which side you land on in terms of the arguments we're presenting. Welcome to the channel. My name is Maddie and this is Altcoin Buzz. All the best of luck if you choose to invest, ETF projects, or otherwise. I wish you well. Just remember, I am not a financial or investment advisor, and as such, this video is not official financial or investment advice.
But also the trade now is who's next, right?
Exactly. Who is next? Because and I was talking about yesterday. Now it's almost time for truly my ETF, my blended ETF, of which which crypto asset it is. And so who is next, though?
I mean, I think you've got to think about Solana as probably the next one, right? I mean, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana are probably the big three for this cycle.
Okay, so is a Solana spot ETF possible within the next year and a half or so? It is a logical question, especially after seeing the approval of both Bitcoin and Ethereum spot ETFs. We have Solana and a few very select crypto assets that could potentially be next in line here. I'd argue that the three most mentioned candidates as far as just speculation, but as far as their potential, would be XRP, Chainlink, and Solana. And here's my case as to why I see Solana as next in line. First of all, as you probably know, and especially if you're an American, the political landscape is changing. The presidential election is rapidly approaching, and this is really a catalyst for a lot of things in crypto, but particularly to this argument. So initially we saw some Democrat resistance to the whole ETF thing, but they actually did a 180 on the Ethereum spot ETF, and plenty of political pundits also see it this way. And what's most likely here, if you read between the lines, is that the Democrats felt that they were losing ground to the Republicans if the SEC didn't approve that Ethereum ETF. So you can probably argue that once this kind of Pandora's box of ETFs has been opened, you can't really close it up again. Now, recently, former US President Donald Trump announced himself as the so-called crypto president. And that's probably more important than it used to be because as of this recording, we have about 93 million adults in the United States who own crypto. That's almost a third of the 333 million US population. And so that's significant if you think of that third as representing a lot of voters. That puts the potential for more crypto spot ETFs in perspective and makes it more likely, in my opinion. CoinEx is one of the best exchanges that you probably haven't heard of. Just like Gate.io or MEXC, they offer a lot of coins. But of course, most importantly, they offer the high quality coins that you actually want. In fact, over 800 coins in over 1,200 trading pairs are available. And if you like futures or perpetuals trading, then CoinEx has a great offer for you. This is ongoing. It started on June 6th, and you can share in a prize pool of up to 15,000 USDT. All you have to do is trade at least 15,000 USDT in futures to qualify. So if you want to trade futures, set up your account on CoinEx today and earn some extra USDT as you do so. Check out the link for more information. I will include that in the description of this video below. And then we have the next aspect to look at, which is the fundamentals and really all around quality of a project. With that in mind, let's take a closer look here at Solana's fundamentals. And to be honest, there's not much that has changed here. They pretty much look as good as when the project started. And yeah, I know that in December 2022, the price of Sol dropped below $10. However, there were some external factors there, not the least of which was the FTX crash. But that being acknowledged, really the fundamentals never changed. As a project, they remained in place and are solid. The current price of Sol is down a little bit with the rest of the market, of course. That sits right now at $135, but there is still plenty of potential to see more gains. Solana is also right now 5th in terms of crypto market caps across all projects, which is probably another reminder of its good fundamentals. And with $3.9 billion in 24-hour trading volume, it also shows that there's money moving around in Solana. It makes them the 5th crypto asset for liquidity, being, of course, behind BTC, ETH, USDT, and USDC. So Really a couple more reasons here to back up the potential Sol spot ETF. Fast and very cheap transactions here are a major variable in Solana's favor. Of course, this attracts investor attention. And then, of course, we can't forget the very robust Solana ecosystem, which just keeps growing. One of Solana's strong points in particular was NFTs, but more recently, it seems to be flourishing across really a multiplicity of sectors. For example, it rules the current meme coins frenzy. It's also going pretty strong in other sectors such as DeFi, even DePIN, for instance, with Jupiter, Radium, Pith, Render Network, and Drip House with NFTs, not to forget those, but it's kind of diversifying itself more and more, which is nice to see for any project, but especially one of Solana's size and dominance in the space. And then we also have a very significant recent network upgrade that happened on the 15th of April, which now allows for even better scalability. And yes, the sheer number of meme transactions has slowed the chain down, but the fact is that nowadays it can handle this. And shout out to Canada here because the country is actually paving the way for Solana spot ETFs. Sol Wealth, which is a federal organization, plans to submit a Sol spot ETF to the local authorities. And there are already other Solana-based securities in the US. So for example, there's Grayscale's GSOL, that's GSOL, the Grayscale Solana Trust, which holds Solana. It's a security and you have exposure to Sol. There's no need to hold or store Sol. However, you do need to be an accredited investor and it's only available as an OTC option. That's an over-the-counter asset. There's also VanEck Solana ETP, also 21 shares Solana ETP. That, by the way, stands for an exchange-traded product. However, in contrast to a spot ETF, there's no need to hold Sol as an underlying asset for the firm that offers an ETP. Currently, these ETPs only trade in specific European countries. And finally, here in the pro camp of arguments, we have a very recent development which sees the rumors for a Sol spot ETF getting stronger. That's because KuCoin posted about BlackRock gearing up to apply for one directly. And look, whether or not you're a fan of BlackRock, I'm not necessarily, but we have to acknowledge that they are super influential when it comes to all things investments.
And so if this market pulls back hard under this level and then consolidates and comes back, we're likely to sell and stall.
Okay, we're going to shift gears now and consider the arguments against ETFs for Solana and Chainlink and others here. And that means I'm going to highlight the arguments specifically as to why there may not be a new crypto ETF, at least in the United States, for some time. First of all, as we discussed in the pro camp a moment ago, and I agree, the best chance for a new ETF is with Solana. Okay, but looking here at CoinGecko's front page, there are only 8 or 9 projects that trade over $1 billion daily within a 24-hour window. This is just about the minimum that institutions look for in liquidity in order to fund the purchases an ETF would require on a daily basis. For example, Bitcoin's ETF volume is routinely over $2 billion a day, and it is rarely less than $1 billion a day. So of those 8 or 9 projects in that trading range, 3 are part of approved ETFs. Those are Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Lido staked ETH. 2 are stablecoins with USDC and USDT, and then we have BNB, Solana, and XRP. And Dogecoin, by the way. I forgot about that one. Doge, of course, is a meme coin, but banks probably don't care about that, even if individual investors do. And then we have BNB, that's out due to its relationship with Binance, which the SEC has targeted in the past. Same with XRP, even though XRP won its most recent court case. For all these reasons, Solana is the most likely choice. But that being said, here's all the reasons why it still will not happen. In a word, it's about hedging, that being risk management, right? Both Bitcoin and Ethereum, and only those, have futures contracts in the US. Both trade on the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. This is vital. And it's the large institutions that primarily care about that. Right now, they're happy to collect their fees, but they don't want to take too much risk just yet. Consequently, they are doing a delta neutral trade. That means they make money regardless of Bitcoin's price. So, for example, as I record this video, the price of Bitcoin is $69,379, and the futures price is $69,960. So, an institution can go long spot through the Bitcoin ETF and short the futures on the CME and lock in a gain of $581. And all right, that doesn't seem like a lot, but if you think about it, it's almost 1% profit for doing nothing. And this is a locked-in profit along with the management fees for taking those dollars and converting them to Bitcoin. Eventually, they will be happy to go long Bitcoin, and we know they don't want to sell it because the contracts and withdrawals settle in USD. Institutions can only do this because there is both a spot ETF and a futures ETF market. No other project has a futures ETF, so none will get a spot ETF until they do. That could happen someday, but it's probably not going to be anytime soon. The other big thing that the futures ETFs did was provide a testing ground for the SEC, but also the CFTC and other government agencies to see if there is really demand for a spot ETF for that particular asset. And I don't see that changing. In fact, the order of events looks very much like the following. Number 1, Sol, or whoever will need a futures ETF. Number 2, that ETF will have to do good volume for a minimum of 6 to 12 months. Then number 3, they apply for a spot ETF. And then number 4, depending on who the US president is and who's running the SEC, a decision could be fast or slow on this application. We just don't know. And that's probably how it's going to go, because without a futures ETF that's running and successful, there is simply no basis to support the argument that a spot ETF is coming anytime soon. But like I said, there are arguments to be made here for both camps. Let me know what you think. In the bull case, we outlined why Sol is the most likely candidate, and both sides agree on a couple of things. Also, the bull case has ETPs in other countries and a grayscale fund in the US. Solana is big and liquid. The US political landscape is becoming more favorable to ETFs, generally speaking, and crypto holders in the US are becoming an important voting bloc. But then just to remind you guys of the argument against an ETF, only a couple of projects are big and liquid enough, although Solana is probably the best candidate. There's no existing futures contract in the US to use as a test ground. A futures contract is necessary for institutions and big traders to use to hedge their spot trading positions. And all of this could happen, but it's probably a couple years away at a minimum. Anyways, let me know what you think about these arguments and whether or not you think an ETF is likely in the near-ish future, let's say in the next year or two. Curious to hear your feedback on this one. There are certainly different ways to interpret the situation. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the matter in the comments below.